Well, we're here in Newcastle where the leg of the GUKBT is being held. It's the second day today, and unfortunately we're not rushing back to the casino because everything ended about 2 hours before the end of play yesterday. It was a day that was a lot of fun. I always really enjoy the UK events especially, but ultimately frustrating, and actually with one massive frustration along the way. And I might as well tell you about that pot first. Probably the most frustrating pot I've ever played. It was really quite bizarre. David LaRon min raises under the gun, and it's a little bit fishy really. He's obviously not got much because he's raising his proper hands to 3 or 4x or whatever. So I peel with King 8 offsuit in the small blind, flop the top 2 pair. It's King 8-4. I lead, he calls. Turn is an even more miraculous card. It's the second king, so I now hold the nuts with King 8 on King 8-4. I lead again 1200, and now he back raises to 3000. So I look at his stack, and if I call the 3000, then he's got 6,500 behind. So the simple way of thinking about it is, this looks like some really sick cooler. If I go all on here, he probably has to call great. And so I thought, can I do any better than that? And so I had a long think about it, and made actually what seemed quite a bizarre decision. But my logic is this: he's got 1 of 3 hands here. It really looked like he had pocket 4s actually for the under full house. And my logic, if he has that hand, is actually it doesn't matter what I do, as long as a king or 8 doesn't come on the river to kind of make my hand even more ridiculous, then he has to bet the river surely. And so actually there's no need to put it in on the turn. It makes no difference either way. Or he's got 3 kings, which also is some pretty sick cooler. If he hits his kick on the river, obviously that's fine. That's pretty much void scenario really. And I thought that hand he had to bet on the river. So actually it doesn't really matter what I do against that, because and so the only other possibility is that he might just be running a bluff here. It didn't feel like it was, mainly because it's called on the flop. But I just thought, well, just in case he's running a bluff and wants to make it a massive bluff on the river, I might as well flat call here, logic being that he kind of has to bet all his big hands on the river. River's perfect, it's 3, which is the perfect blank. Still hold the top house on the board. I check, and he reaches for chips, and I'm thinking, wow, this is going to be an absolutely fantastic start. And suddenly checks. So I feel an absolute fool turning over King 8 for the nut house. And there's kind of a lot of commotion at the table, and everyone's talking, and someone said to him, well, you had a king, didn't you? And he kind of goes, no. And someone said, well, you had pocket 4s, didn't you? And he kind of said, yes. So I thought that absolutely awful. He somehow checks behind pocket 4s on the end there for the low full house. It's probably not any kind of read, but almost like a bizarre decision. But technically it's an absolutely brilliant decision, obviously. And then, funnily enough, about an hour later, I realised that actually, of course, we'd never seen his hand. So it's just possible that he was telling a little fib about it. But if he was, then maybe the line's right, because that must mean that he was on a bluff, and kind of reaching for chips means that he nearly continued it. But anyway, it left me feeling a real fool. And it's this game obviously is not about winning pots. It's about making as many chips as you can with the winning hand, and losing as few chips as you can with the losing hand. And to that end, I've been absolutely schooled on that hand, so it felt really horrible, really. But I'm pretty good at not letting things affect my game too much, even though it did leave me feeling gutted for a while. So the rest of the day was a lot of fun. There were some good pots really, but ultimately then when the luck factor came in, it just all went wrong again really, and to feel pretty exasperated about my luck, especially in these UK events this year. But you know, never mind. So basically, here's what happened. Is I had 13,000, got into a race with against a short stack ace jack with my 10s. But it's one of those pots that actually turns out to be much bigger than you might think. It's like a 10,500 pot or something. First card jack for him to win the race. I then defend 9-7 of hearts and hit a flop of ace king 10 with 2 hearts. Check, check, and another guy's got a big hand now, and the turn's an 8 to give me like the 15 card draw. He bets 4,500 and a call. This is going to be effective in my stack. Missed the river, and then the very next hand I pushed queen 10 of hearts in the small blind for my last 4k, and in the big blind makes a standard call with ace 5 and lose that as well. So once again, it's kind of like 1 in 7, I think it is, that I lose all 3 of those to get out the tournament. But never mind, really. I was really gutted yesterday for a couple of minutes, because I kind of got my hopes up, but it was a lot of fun anyway, so not to worry at all. But if I ever think back to the Newcastle GUKBT in future years, it will only be that one hand I remember, just completely bizarre. Let me know what you think about that, if you fancy, because it was such an interesting hand really. But anyway, signing off, and the next video update will be from Vegas, so see you then.